Welcome to How to Trust Your Intuition, the podcast, the place where we learn that trust is earned and not given, even with ourselves. I'm your host, Betsy LaFay. I'm a social worker, turned award-winning psychic medium, turned intuition teacher. And my school, Trust Yourself Intuition School, celebrated its 10th anniversary in 2023. Join us each episode as we interview thought leaders and luminaries in every genre. They talk about how and when they learn to trust their intuition. Most say they're still learning. What happens when they do trust it and what happens when they don't. Stick around as we all walk together down the road towards trusting our intuition. It's a joy to bring Rachelle Pean to the show. Welcome, Rachelle.
Thank you so much, Betsy, for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you.
If anyone is listening with their headphones only, you're welcome to come to YouTube and check out this bright light along with your ears, okay? Because the energy and I don't need visuals to feel energy. I don't even need voice. But some people appreciate that and get it more. So I'm just inviting people over to the YouTube if they aren't, because as I invite people over, can you tell us who you are, what you desire in life, and what you're bringing to our audience today?
I love that question, what I desire in life. So I am a human being figuring it out, learning how to not try to figure it out so much, but still trying to figure it out a lot of the time. I
like said it all.
I hold space for people to tap into their inner wisdom. And a lot of that is through releasing trauma imprints in the body and coming back into the body and remembering that it's safe to slow down. And so it's a beautiful purpose for me because it's a reminder I need all the time. And so I get it through my sessions with my clients. And I've been really passionate about breathwork lately and plant medicine, and working with the subconscious is something I get really excited about. And I live by DC. I live in Alexandria. I love mangoes and plantains. And what I desire, I was just thinking about this morning. I was setting my intention, and some of the intentions that I was saying felt a little bit empty. Kind of like, I want to feel connected to everything I do today. That sounds nice, but what really rang into my heart was just feeling my connection to the earth. Like that feels like such a core desire for me, is to really walk with that connection and feel it, and to listen to that connection. And yeah, connecting with other people from that place.
That's amazing.
Thank
I
you.
rarely get readings, okay? Just very, very rarely, extraordinarily rarely. These podcasts feel like they're readings for me.
Yes.
And what you just shared, I'm the mangoes, yes, plantains. There's certain ways I can get down with, but everything else you said before that, and I want to know more about plantains. I'm curious more about them. Everything, I'm like, you're speaking my language. And even yesterday in taping an episode, someone was speaking my process of getting to, what I really desire is putting my feet on the ground. Because from the mind, it just bounces all over the place, right? And so you really just, I feel like you just gave me a reading. So I'm not trying to insert myself into you, but thank you.
I love it. And that must have been what was supposed to come through.
Oh, that's gorgeous. And I do feel like this has to be an example of a mini example of the space that you hold with all of the modalities that you mentioned. We have so much of that in common with breath work and everything. I just have to mention, because I want to ask about the plant medicine, but before I do, I'll refrain from putting my leg up on my desk and showing the camera, but I have taped to my leg right now plantain leaf, but I think it might be a different plantain. I'm not sure. I haven't even looked it up. Plantain leaf and a violet leaf from my yard. For the first time, I have like a spider bite, and I like mushed them all up, and I'm like, I have it on my leg, and it's better than anything I got from my medicine cabinet. So
Wow.
yeah, it was like just right outside this window. So yeah, with that being said, I'd love to hear more about the plant medicine, because that could mean so many different things.
Yes. So for me, I was introduced to mushrooms,
Mm-hmm.
psychedelic mushrooms, 3 years ago. And I was really scared at first. I had a lot of I didn't get into kind of like the party drug scene when I was younger. So I still held a lot of the stigma of losing my mind or what it would be like to engage. And it felt like meeting an old friend. It felt like we've been in this before together, me and the mushroom. And so that was a doorway into trusting myself more and learning from the mushroom how to trust myself.
Mm.
And ayahuasca has been a part of my journey.
Mm-hmm.
Ayahuasca very much, where the mushrooms I feel like are walking with me all the time. Ayahuasca feels like an elder that I know to only approach when I'm called. And but has brought me really powerful lessons and teachings that I'm still learning from.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's and something that I hold space for is integration circles for
We need
microdosing.
we need more of
For
that for
people.
microdosing. Tell me more about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm finding that my energy is a really helpful bridge for people into unknown spaces in themselves.
Mm.
I become kind of I had this vision shown to me in a meditation of when I was younger, my mom was having a garage sale and I put on a Bambi costume and I was dancing in the street to help people come and see there are things that you can get.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Spirit was showing me this is what you're going to do with people, right? This kind of like playful, come
Playful
on,
dance
yes, come on over. And so
with dappled spots of sunlight on your back.
exactly.
You're going to teach them when to rest because they have to stay in one spot for a long time, and that it's safe. It's more safe to rest.
Exactly.
Ah, I
Exactly.
got chills. That's amazing.
Yes, thank you for that
Mm,
confirmation. That's what
mm,
that message felt like I'm doing with plant medicine.
yeah.
And for some people, larger dosing is
Right.
intimidating. So microdosing is a really nice doorway in to connect with the medicine. And then I hold space for us to unpack over a month's time. It's like a weekly circle for a month where we just talk about the messages that we're getting, what's coming up.
That's
Yeah.
so beautiful. I had a huge shift in my healing when I started microdosing psilocybin.
Mm.
At the same time, I went back on it's technically called a homeopathic thing. It's called Brillia that no one's heard of, and I've been on it for years. But it's expensive, but um, it just helps me ginormously. I started taking those immediately about a year and a half ago. I mean, together about a year and a half ago, and it just makes all the difference, all the difference.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely leveled up my truth and my ability to sit with truth.
Mm.
It I feel like the mushrooms really hold me accountable to how sometimes I can think I'm doing these things and I can get really wrapped up in the story of
Mm.
who I think I am and what I have decided is happening. And they kind of help me just sit down and let go of needing to know or label or analyze and just be more open to the mystery and
Think
wait.
yeah, yeah, think about the little ones, which is what some people call the psilocybin mushrooms. I think we have them goddess universe. Um, we have them and grandmother, which people call ayahuasca sometimes, because if we only had grandmother, woo, imagine, right?
Oh my goodness. I would still go to her because I love truth, but
I know. But like
uh-huh.
they're part of the integration, I feel. And by the way, the fact that you know that you are good at holding space for people to explore parts of themselves, hidden parts, scary parts, quote unquote, dark parts, messy parts, whatever it is, the unknown, that you know that is just beautiful. I'm
Thank
grateful that you
you.
know that.
Yeah, it's a lot. It brings a lot of power to know what your energy fingerprint evokes around you by noticing. And I had the greatest teacher was my mom
Mm.
because I grew up and she was deep in depression, like deep in shadow all the time and really identified with it. And so I was trying to connect with her, trying to understand what was going on, and so I got like up close with the energy of suffering, the different things that happen for a person when they're like so in it, taking it on for myself. So I feel like I'm in my mid 30s now. I feel like up until mid 20s was just that was my medicine, was like seeing it up close,
Mm-hmm.
not even necessarily seeing the light or the
Yeah,
levity or the music, you know, the kind of more whimsical energy that I've been
yeah,
tapping into lately, but just like really studying shadow.
yeah.
And yeah, my mom was like my greatest teacher for that.
Mm. You just like you just shifted, you just cognitively shifted the way I see so much. Like it just like I think I would have like different if this were a color and this were a paint, I have these brush strokes of people who have hurt me or situations that have hurt me in the past as medicine, and I know that I need them. I know I needed certain really dark colors, to take that metaphor, really like the darkest dark for a long time, to get out of there, right? And to see the light. So I'm grateful for that, and I know that. And again, like certain things, like that was medicine, this and that, but like again, the way that you just said it was like this, like everything just like flipped, and I'm like, oh wow, cool. I've had a lot of medicine.
Yes. And I don't know about you, but I'm so grateful. Ayahuasca helped me a lot with that relationship and with understanding myself in the relationship, like my
Mm-hmm.
true self in the relationship. But
Yeah.
coming to that place of being able to say it this way and really feel it, there's been so many tears, so much grief, so much anger, right? It has not been,
Mm-hmm.
it's so interesting to be in this space. And I don't know if it's like this for you because you seem very connected and connected to your joy
Right.
that
Right.
um it feels important to also mention that there's a lot of chapters that are not that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think what you're to extend what you're saying is, feeling all of our emotions, and it's been said on this show before, and I know you teach people how to trust their intuition as well. So, in order to feel, tears of joy or connection or intimacy, right, there has to be the tears of grief and sadness and anger and frustration, fire, all of that. Yeah, and that is true. That is very, very true.
Yeah.
Moment to moment, even long term, moment to moment. I was just wondering, I'm like, I don't feel called to an ayahuasca ceremony right now. We'll see. I've been there and I so appreciate it. But every time I go, every time I went in the past, it would bring me back to family, which I very much appreciate. But in the years since I've done it, my visceral, guttural, biological definition of family has changed. So I don't have what we would traditionally call any biological family. So I'm like, but we all know there's different definitions of family and everything like this. But it seems to me that maybe soon would be a good time to, right? Because I'm just thinking out loud for myself. Like, all right, now we're at a metaphorical ground zero. It sounds like a good time. Yeah.
And see what she has for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Well, you mentioned the medicine of your mother and growing up and things like this. I wonder um, how this affects the question, right? Of like, when and how did you learn to trust your intuition?
Yes, that's a potent connection that you made.
Right?
I felt like I had to protect myself from that heaviness that I saw in my mom because it hurt to see her hurting. So, and then I had different strategies I learned from my dad, he migrated to the States from Haiti when he was 18. He's an engineer, right? So like there's just a lot of like linear,
Mm.
rigid programming that he needed to
Mm.
be here that I also picked up.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time I was a therapist, and I went right in from high school to undergrad to grad, so I was young, I was like early 20s. I was planning everything. I was planning every session with every client before they even got in the room. I was planning every interaction I thought I would have. I had a very clear, everything was mine. And like I thought it needed to be for me to be safe and okay. And I had a beautiful supervisor, Claudia Israel, who's since transitioned, and she was like a fairy godmother. Like her energy is so beautiful. And she was meeting with me and she's like, Rachelle, I would like for you to take a day where you don't plan anything and go out into the world and just listen for the next step. She said, if you're driving, don't have a destination. Just wait and see where you want to turn. If you're walking, don't plan where you're going to walk. Just see where your feet want to take you. And I feel like ever since she gave me that invitation, it's been opening up into more and more of my life. It was like I just needed that permission and that invitation to, and she invited me in such a playful way, in such a curious way.
That's definitely goes into the category of like best advice I've ever received. Like that's always a good thing to hear from people. And I think in a playful way, listeners can also do that. I've started to do this within the past year. I've been trying to get my 10,000 steps in gently. Um, and my intuition will just tell me where to go. And the number of things that I've found is just to the point where my friends and therapists are like, well, yeah, of course you found a $5 lotto ticket that was winning on the ground. Like nobody flinches. They're like, oh, 12 crystals just lying there. And everyone's like, no, that you should take them. Like, oh yeah, of course it happened. And I'm like, you guys like don't even react to these like crazy things that are happening. Is that just because? And they're like, yeah, that's just who you are. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's fine. Like, I don't need a crazy reaction. I just need a reality check here. What's going on? So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
beautiful practice. What year around was that you had that mentor that said that?
That was about 10 years ago.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it would be around 2013. And around the same time, I started noticing that my body was communicating to me in
Mm.
sessions with clients in a way that I'm pretty sure it always had been, but I never noticed. And it was a
Yeah.
really funny way. It would be like if a client was talking to me, they would say something, how you described the paint, the color change, where something new just clicked into place, and my
Mm-hmm.
stomach would gurgle so loud. But what I'm learning now, feeling into, is that an energy settled.
Mm-hmm.
Something settled into place and my body was feeling it.
Yeah.
And so from that invitation from my supervisor, it just started extending even into my sessions and where I get the information from.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
You're all ready for your vacation. It's really hectic getting here, but you're seated in your airplane seat, looking out the window, and you hear the pilot come on the intercom. Good day, everyone. It's a beautiful day outside, 71 and sunny. As you're aware, to get to where we're going, we need to fly over that mountain range, and sometimes there can be a little bit of turbulence. I'm about 80% sure we'll get there safely. So buckle up, relax, and enjoy your flight. I know that sounds like an absurd situation, but when I put this in context of trusting yourself and trusting your intuition, and I ask people on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most, how much do you trust yourself? 8 is a very high score when asking people. So if you fall on a 2 to 4 range, you're totally not alone. Now picture this other scenario. You're out to lunch with a friend, and the friend says that they've been having a really difficult time learning French. You ask the logical question, are you taking a class? And their answer is, well, I'm taking Spanish. Guess what? If you want to trust yourself deeply, if you want to have an easier time making decisions, break through blocks, connect with people, know who to connect with when, there's a class for that. I've actually helped thousands of people truly trust themselves in uncertainty, in times of doubt or fear, shame or guilt. And I have a free masterclass called Intuition 101, How to Trust Yourself in Uncertain Times, that will tell you everything you need to know in order to learn to trust yourself. The link is in the show notes. However, you can also go to howtotrustyourintuition.com, all spelled out.
Yeah.
That's really, really beautiful. In my psychic medium readings, I have a jillion examples of that, but with the digestive tract specifically, I'll say, if I wind up burping in a session, it just means that we've gone over the entire 10-course meal in like 20 minutes, and it's a lot to digest. And so they have a recording of it, but I just mentioned that, like, you really are going to need to sit with a lot of this for a little while, because it's like, whoa. So yeah, I'm curious to see what other, because it's happening all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun. That's really fun.
Cool. I never thought about the communication of where the energy is. Like if it's in the digestive system, there's so much digesting.
Oh, well, this is cool. This is what I'll do for you and all the listeners. I will put a link up. I'm making a note. I'll put a link up to this like starter little PDF that I have. And it's a human body. And there's maybe like 25 different possible things. And it's also like, maybe this is take it or leave it kind of thing, like maybe this is what it is, maybe it's not, but it's based on my experience and also the work of Louise Hay. But it's super fun for yourself and for your clients, and this is just good for you to know, and anyone who does this type of work. I will say, I know you have a rapport with your clients that includes, I am a holistic, intuitive, hypnotherapist. So it's abundantly clear. I want to make clear to anyone listening that if they are using their intuition at least this much with their clients, that they should be open with their clients about it, just in case, But yeah, with when you are when you're working with the clients and something happens and you feel something like, oh, well, I have a shoulder issue that sometimes flares up. It hasn't flared up in forever, but all of a sudden I'm in a session and it flares up. Yeah. You might think it's yours, and it is. And as you started saying, it's for the client too. That's a cool thing. So
Yes, thank
every
you for
reading
that.
is a reading for me. And as you said, like every session you get out of it. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm,
Mhm.
wow. So I'll send that PDF to you and then
Thank
I'll
you.
make it available to everyone else. PDF. Okay. So much fun. It can help you in your life. Can we talk about oh, you know what? I have this question
Mhm.
because I won't tell them here. It'll take up too much time, but I have examples of in the beginning stages being on that curious journey for fun, right? So do you have any stories of like little magical things that happened on those first couple of walks or whatever, drives?
I have a story. Was it was a little later on, but it's so magical and
Yeah,
it
from
just popped
around
into
time.
my head.
Yeah.
And it was actually it was a 3 night ayahuasca ceremony. And in between me and one of the other people, it was like during the day, we took a walk together and we were saying, what do you want to see today? And I was like, I want to see a clown. And then I asked him, I'm like, what do you want to see? He's like, I want to see a bull. So then we're playing this game where he was telling me the rules. It feels like very an intuitive magic game. It was like, oh, we picked something that we would follow to know where we would turn, and it was a gray shirt. So anytime we saw a gray, we would turn and walk towards the gray. And what that really helped with is we let go of the clown in the bowl. Like by the time probably 5 minutes, I had forgotten what I said. And we were just having fun and traveling and like walking, taking things in. And we come to almost like a little farmer's market. And on one of the tables, there's a ceramic clown next to this bronze bull statue. Betsy, when I tell after that, I was like, I cannot, this is so specific. I can't doubt, like, I literally can't doubt it. It also let me know to, I can be very specific and to also be mindful of what I'm saying I want to experience or see or bring in because it was so specific, a clown and a bull right next to each other.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's
Yes.
that's so fun. And again, there was the theme of curiosity, playfulness, and your first statement of I'm a human who's trying to figure out less, who's actually that is it. And then this is totally not to rain on the story because the story is magical. And I also want to bring it to another humorous point for us and everyone, because this is the way it happens in life. What do, right? We're like, I'm just gonna make this completely stereotypical. It's not even me. I'm fucking gay. Okay. So I'm like, so this is not me, but it's all right. Like, what do we say? Like, I want a man. And you maybe
Mm-hmm.
put like 5 specific things, right? And like that, those 5 things come and they're like, but I wanted him to have a job. And you're like so mad that that specific thing came in. So you did not, because when I don't think anyone who heard clown, and I don't think when you said clown or he said bull, you were talking about statues, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you were just open to it. And that's the message. It's a beautiful message in real life, right? Someone might be like, oh, but I wanted the balloon guy, not the statue. And you're like, boom, ching, But yeah, isn't that why we're on the planet? To be conscious manifestors, and that's the playground, right? Like
Yes. I love
you're,
that you brought that in
yeah,
because this just happened to me. I was having lunch with friends
yeah.
and I was coming off of a dating experience. And I'm like, I'd really love to meet a man that's not completely, maybe he doesn't say like grand rising in the morning and he's, a yoga teacher. Like I don't need that, but I want someone that is spiritually oriented. Like that is their compass for life. I would say 3 days later, I meet this man. He comes up to me. We're vibing. It's such a great connection. He asks me out, and then I find out on his social media he's married.
There, that's it.
which, which, that's not
Yeah.
for me, but
Yeah.
to your point.
When I graduated with a BA in psychology in 2002, attachment work was only applied to children. Now, in 2023, it seems to be all the rage for a reason, because knowing your attachment type, there are three main types: avoidant, anxious, and secure, really changes your life. And if you listen to the podcast where I talked about how I lost $100,000 from a spiritual, quote unquote, spiritual coach, the silver lining to that experience was me discovering the root of a lot of my issues. I was anxiously attached. I had anxious attachment. At the very end of that terrible, terrible situation, yes, it was traumatic, I came across Maya Diamond's work. And it was working through her program that literally rewired my brain from anxious to secure. This is how I made it through all of my major transitions over the past 2 years and discovered so much about myself. Now, if you don't know about attachment work, don't feel bad. Here's a typical situation, in fact, the most common situation that happens with these attachment styles. Person A and person B are in a relationship. They care about one another. Person A reaches out to person B, doesn't hear back right away. So then maybe sends another text or another gesture, which further pushes person B away. Both people get resentful, and eventually they might break up. I was in that situation more often than I'd like to remember. I married the wrong person, I had toxic family relationships, and had no idea until I took Maya's program. So, the link for a free consultation is in the show notes, and I'm so happy to offer it all the podcast listeners. If you sign up for her program, you will get a free session worth $500 with Maya Diamond herself, one-on-one. That's just for How to Trust Your Intuition podcast listeners.
And then I find out on his social media he's married.
That's it.
which, that's not for me, but to your point, to be very specific about what it is that
I just hear the laughter, right? Like my entourage, that's what I call them, whatever you call your team, right? In spirit, they are laughing because it's like, if you want a salad that has dressing on the side, what do? You order a salad with the dressing on the side. Like, you're not like, it's 2023, man. Like, why isn't all the dressing on the side? And if you are, I'm sorry, we are just not in alignment right now. Okay, so, but it's a funny thing because it's like, oh, right, like it's so simple, but it's not. But this is the greatest point, I feel like, is that it goes back to where you're like, oh, what I really want is to feel connected to the earth and connect to people from that space, right? So then that's the cool thing that, I'm finally really integrating into my life. I've known about for so long, but you manifest, you describe how you want to feel, right? And so you're not going to feel honored, I'm assuming, because how you reacted to the guy being married. You personally are not going to feel honored dating a guy who's married, right? You're not going to feel good and connected to the earth.
Right.
Wow, this is cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love that reminder of getting specific from the feeling.
Yeah.
The feeling.
Yeah. That's a good one. I had someone on the show yesterday, we were just recording, and she was helping people with money. And for me, I thought, well, she was like, it's never, and when you get to a certain point, then your worries get to be, do I have enough for everything? Like, will it be enough? Like, because you're just like, then there's infinite emergencies or whatever, And so it's like, oh, right. You just have to, how much feels like I will be able to do the other things and feels right with what I have, you know? And that's a version of having your feet on the ground. Right? Being connected to what is and to other people. That's beautiful. I love how we're coming back to that. Um, well, what about a time when maybe you had an intuitive impulse and you didn't follow it, and what happened?
And this might be helpful for listeners, I find that it is most difficult to listen to my intuition in the areas that I've experienced the most trauma, disruption, fear.
Mm.
So intimate romantic relationships are something that what I grew up seeing was not grounded to the earth and right from the heart. And so the information that I have stored in my nervous system about relationships is something that I'm still learning to look at and release if I don't need to hold it, and look at and release if this doesn't need to be the only truth available. So
Mm-hmm.
the area where I have in the past, I'm getting much better at it. I've actually gotten really good at it. That's what I'm feeling right now, which is awesome. But when I think about your question, it comes up as in this was 3 years ago in a long-term relationship that I was in, that I was getting dreams
I've had that.
to not be, this person was supposed to be somewhere else with someone else. I was feeling there wasn't a resonance anymore. And I was like, no. I like the feeling of being in a relationship. And I just a lot of attachment to what I had planned in my mind that this would be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say for a year, I ignored the message. And for a year, we got crunchier and crunchier. Like we got,
Yeah.
it just had to get louder and louder until we both could really let go
Yeah.
and allow what we both were feeling and knew to lead
You were
us.
taking your medicine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It was a beautiful lesson because now I can recognize that feeling, and I'm not illusioned to think that if I don't listen, it'll just go away.
Mm.
I
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That makes sense. And countless people on the show have shared that's the area, right? That they're just like, all right, I'm still learning, and I am too. I totally am. But it's exciting learning at this point. I feel like it
Yeah.
really, really is. Yeah.
I feel
Um,
that too.
what's that?
I feel that too, that it's exciting
Hmm.
now. And that's something I was talking to a friend about. She was like, you always meet people and you have these experiences and it seems so fun. And it's something, she's like, I talk to my other friends and a lot of people are like, oh, dating is it's like so heavy.
Right.
And so I was just reminded of the importance of, it's not like doing your work. I don't love
That's no,
that.
but that's what exactly what was I was like, yeah, I was like, well, when you're doing your work, it's
Yeah.
different. It's like, look,
Yeah.
okay, literally looking in the mirror is uncomfortable for some people.
Mm-hmm.
And metaphorically, looking in the mirror is uncomfortable for some people. That's what a lot of the work is. And when you look at someone else, you are also looking at them.
That part.
The
Thank
mirror
you.
broke.
You just gave it words. That's what it
Right?
is. If I
Yeah.
meet someone and we're vibing, and then maybe we realize, oh, this isn't supposed to go down this path. I'm like, what was this showing me?
Mm-hmm,
Or there
mm-hmm,
might even be like a past part of myself that was able to be integrated, that I experienced with this person, and that
mm-hmm,
curiosity and
mm-hmm.
exploration, it
Yep.
makes it fun.
It does. It really does. Oh my goodness. Well, on that note, I would love to know not only where people can find you, but what do you find most joyous helping someone with? So if someone needs help with this, I would be ecstatic to help them with it.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
you can find me on Instagram at Shell Pean, ChellePean, or my website, my full name, RachellePean.com. And Oh my goodness. I think I'm just thinking of a recent session. What feels most joyous to me is when people feel that they're not their inner critic and they're not the stories that they've had about feeling stuck.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's those moments like in a meditation or when they're connecting with their breath or they ask a question and they're surprised that they get this clear answer and they're like, oh my God, that's in me. That is me. That gives me so much joy to see people really connecting with their true core self and to see those other voices. They can still be there, but they don't have to feel so afraid of them or antagonistic towards them. So there's more of a wholeness. When I see people step into that, that makes me so happy.
Do you feel like a good toe in the water to taste some of those flavors of like, this is not me and this pure voice of me is coming through would be some of your guided hypnosis sessions that are on your website, because I saw those and I was like, wow, those look amazing. And what you just said, I'm like, oh, wow, I can imagine me doing a couple of those and be like, okay, we need to do some one-on-one here.
Yes, thank you for that.
Yeah.
For that plug. Yeah, there's two that come to mind. And one is embracing your shadow. And what I love about hypnosis is that you can rest into the connection. Some people experience the recording and they don't necessarily remember everything that was said, but over time they just start to feel more at ease with that part of themselves that they thought was bad or whatever the story is. So that's a really powerful one to start to dip your toes.
Well, let's pause there for a moment because just explain to people a little bit more about the concept of the shadow, if you would.
Thank you. Yeah. So the shadow gets a bad rep and it's become pretty trendy. And so it's kind of become like a caricature of the bad, but it really is just anything that's unconscious. It's anything that you've had to tuck away to be a front-facing self that feels accepted, belonging in the world around you. But sometimes that front-facing self can feel like a mask. And so the shadow, it's unconscious, but it wants to be expressed. So when you're triggered, when something you've pushed away in a back corner gets tapped on, like you have a conflict or someone says something or something comes up in your life, if you're not in relationship with that unconscious shadow, it will come up and take over. And that's when people are like, I don't know what happened there, or I self-sabotaged, or I don't know why that pattern keeps coming up. It's because there's not a conscious connection with that part of you that is just wanting expression and is probably afraid and trying to protect you.
Yeah.
So creating a connection with those parts, those energies that got pushed away, that are usually like our hurt inner children.
Right.
Creating that relationship with them, they can bring us gifts. So that anger or that rage that you're like, nope, can't feel that, that's dangerous. That could also bring you some fire, some sensuality, some power to lead, to use your voice, to bring healing to yourself. So there's always a gift also that the shadow brings. So yeah, it's all that's in the unconscious.
Well, it's doing the work, and you could start with one of those hypnosis meditation or a working one-on-one or however. Doing that work turns that into that fertile soil so you can have the gifts, right? And that's what's interesting is what followed with the gifts for your examples are also what people's fears are, right? Taking up space, using your voice, healing. That literally is also what people are scared of. And I'm glad you brought the gifts because one funny side note that is a true story. I lived on the beach in California, and one time I went out. I didn't go out at night usually. One time I went out at night think it was more of like a full moon. And I was like looking up and I literally got freaked out by my shadow because I moved and my shadow moved and I thought there was something at my feet and I got so freaked out. And then I laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed, of course. But yeah, speaking of gifts, like also like if it's not those outward expressions or something that you're fearful of, when you have that fertile soil, some other expressions can come out. You have more like bandwidth and energy. I'm certain that it was doing a lot of that work that freed up space for me to find out that I'm now painting pet portraits, right? Like I had no idea. 43 years old. All right. Already got a bunch of commissions. So it's like, okay, cool. I had no idea, so that's it's a beautiful thing to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. The creativity, the depth of creativity that can come through.
You said you wanted to mention another one that came to mind.
Oh, another one. So anything, I think anything that has a lot of shame around it usually is a really big source of power. So another one is self-pleasure, making self-pleasure sacred.
Yes. Those are the two that stuck out to me, I have to say.
Okay. So you felt that, yeah. Connecting our sexual energy in a way that is a gentle invitation. It invites self-pleasure as a practice. And it can just be a reintroduction to the self in a way that is explorative and playful, and a phrase that has been coming to me ever since I started doing that exploration with myself of just unraveling shame from sexuality is that sexual energy is innocent. It's so innocent.
It really is.
It's so pure. It's so natural. And so that hypnosis it may not be something that leads you into self-pleasure, although it can be, but it could be something just to listen to start to prime the subconscious to be more open to yourself and to your own energy.
Oh, what a gift to the world. What a gift to the world. You and the meditations and everything else. This has been an absolute sacred pleasure. And that's a true pun, a true pun. So the joy is real, and all the other expressions are real. So thank you for holding that space for you, number one, and doing the work, sharing it here, so we can witness it, and then helping others with it. It's needed, and I very much appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you, Betsy. Thank you for having me. I'm like, I could keep talking. I'm having such a good time with you. So thank you for this space. Thank you for what you share. And thank you to your listeners for being here.
Yay.
How to Trust Your Intuition, the podcast, is written, produced, and created by me, your host, Betsy LaFay. Music provided by Ben Talmy. If you don't want to be like that pilot that is 80% sure you'll get to your next destination safely, and you want to take the right class to learn the right language, and guess what? Intuition is a language. Head over to howtotrustyourintuition.com. I hope this podcast has been helpful to you. If it has, please forward it to a friend who you think it could also make a difference for. There's something that you can do for me and everyone else who listens to this podcast as well. If you hit subscribe, you'll never miss another episode. It'll also help the show get to other people. And of course, I know you've heard other podcast hosts say this before, but it's totally true. If you leave us a 5-star rating and a review, it helps other people like you discover this podcast. We all need to learn to trust our intuition. So, hit subscribe, give us a 5-star review, and write a little blurb while you're there. Your intuition will thank you.